OK, well, you've seen some faces of young reporters who were totally unknown at that time, and well, they deserved to be. But we did have a reporter who was nationally known, and right good he was too. Remember this fella?
It'll come back there. In our search for these old games, this has brought us up into the Yorkshire Dales. In fact, probably the highest dale, Swaledale. And we found a game here which they play, and it's called quoit. Now, this is a quoit. It's spelled Q-U-O-I-T-S. It's like a big dinner plate with the middle knocked out. And the idea of this is to throw on 11 yards pitch. But it's not quite as easy as it looks. And I'm just going to have a throw now. And this was one of Halifax's most flourishing breweries, Whittaker's. Brewers of Cock of the North ales. Closed down the very year their light ale won the big prize. The prize as the best bottle of beer of its kind in the country. Whittaker's Light Shire Ale. Vintage 1968. It's a great ale, cut off in the prime of its life. But there's a survivor, and I've got it in here. That's why I've been upping this about all morning. Believe me, this was given to me by a man who worked here and hidden this bottle away for 2 years. And here it is. The last bottle, the last drop. Given to me by him at a great personal sacrifice.
We shall never know what that sacrifice was. Well, that was Fred, of course, the great Fred, one of our ace reporters in those days. And, of course, mourning the loss of the Cock of the North. Well, Charlie, we've lost a few bitters since then. Barnsley Bitter has gone, for example, hasn't it? It's 1968?
Yes, it has.
What were you doing back in 1968? Because we were just thinking, you weren't as famous then as you are now.
I was working as hard.
Doing what?
Yeah, working in men's clubs.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it as well. It was great. Not as famous, you say, as but it was great days. A laugh a minute. A lot of
Was
happy
it better
people.
not to be famous than to be famous, do you think?
By gum, that's it. Nail on here now.
Right. What do you reckon?
It was, because there was no pressure. There was no pressure. You see, once you get up there at top of pedestal, you're only there for one thing, and that's to be knocked down. But I'm still there.
Well, long may you be so, Charlie.
I'm an hardy Yorkshireman.
And we got Dickie Bird. You weren't famous, really. You were well known, of course, as a cricketer 20 years ago. You weren't as famous, weren't famous as you are now. What were you doing 20 years ago, Dickie?
20 years ago, I think Charlie was kicking me to death on football field. 20 years ago, I'd just finished county cricket, and I went down to Devon for 3 years before I went on the first-class umpires list. I was coaching cricket at Plymouth College, the public school in Devon.
Yes, never dreaming that 20 years later you'll be a household word the world over.
Amazing. Never dreamed.
All very proud of you. Right. And just because you're sitting here, an old friend of ours, Michael Buckley. Hello, Michael. 20 years ago, what were you doing?
Well, I just started Woodhall, bringing Christians together and answering awkward questions from people like you.
Tell us about the Pope, the question about the Pope.
Well, it was about the ordination of women, and you said to me, is the Pope infallible? I said, yes, but he's wrong on this one.
Well, that sounds like a real sort of remark of a politician. And, of course, over the years, we have covered many political stories, many politicians in the studio. They've all got to get elected, of course, in the first place.
Labour's candidate, Joe Ashton, has been a member of the party for 18 years. He's a city councillor in Sheffield, where he works as a cost-control design engineer. As a family man himself, he seems to be in no doubt as to what this by-election is about.
You know, this election is about your family. The most important thing in life is your family. The schooling for your children, the pensions for your elderly parents, your jobs, your houses, everything that affects your security. In the Labour Party, we've a magnificent record on this.
And the man with that job of holding on is Marcus Fox, a grammar school boy from Dewsbury, now director of a textile firm. He runs his campaign buoyantly, theatrically and optimistically, but is well aware that it needs a swing of less than just 2% for the Conservatives to be out.
I'm a man in a hurry. I have 8 days in which to finish off contacting 50,000 electors in this constituency. if I fail to get my message across, then we will all live to regret it.
I say, it's a good job for the people of Shippey you got in, otherwise what would have happened to them?
Well, never mind that. Look what's happened to me. I mean, 20 years on, it shows what television can do to you. But, you know, Joe and I have been sparring partners on this programme for over many years. I have to tell you that we have worked together on one really big event, and that was to get rid of Austin Mitchell. And we convinced him that being an MP was much easier than being a presenter on this programme, and it worked. It worked. Now, with you, Richard, we've tried it with you, but we couldn't find a party to accept it.
No, well, exactly.
He's done a lot better than I have. He's a sir, and he's not been in as long as me. That's because he sucks up. I keep calling her a silly old cow and get nowhere. That's the art of being a good politician like him. And I didn't go grey with politics. Sheffield Wednesday did that when they went to the 3rd Division.
What about all those things you said in that van 20 yeyears ago? In a way, you could probably sit in the same van and say the same things today, and it'd be just as relevant.
I'll tell you something. The day before the election, every newspaper said Roy Jenkins was going to put 10 pence on petrol, 4pence on a pint of beer, 3pence on the betting tax, and we denied it. The day after the election, he did. And they all said, fight again, you twisting Yorkshireman. We're still there.
Well, you enjoy being an MP, really. It's ridiculous hours. I mean, you were up all night last night, for example. It's stupid, really, isn't it?
Oh, well, it is, but let's face it, there are a lot of compensations. I mean, too many sort of to tell you about, but I'm looking at that. I remember that campaign, and I remember that slogan, Opportunity Knocks with Marcus Fox. Now, I made a great mistake, because I put it out for a competition, and some of the other slogans, one was pull up your socks with Fox, and the other was keep off the rocks with Fox. I dropped that one.
Did you have a slogan, Joe?
No, we just take the mickey out of him. What's that fox, that ginger-haired fox that there used to be? I've forgotten its name. The puppet, you know, the dummy.
Basil Brush.
Basil Brush, that's him. That's the nickname he used to got when he first went in. He don't tell you that one, he only tells you the funny jokes.
I've been called worse than that, Joe.
OK, well, it's great to see Marcus Fox and Joe Ashton. Well done. Thanks very much indeed. Now, just to remind you what was happening on the political front at that time, would you believe the Conservatives were 25% ahead of Labour, but Labour were in government under Prime Minister Harold Wilson. But apparently people in 1968 weren't really sure who Ted Heath was.
Do you know who Ted Heath is?
Well, he's a dance band leader, isn't he?
What do you think of him?
I don't know. It's a bit of a square, I think, these days. No, but has he just been elected, or how long has he been in?
Yes, he's the Prime Minister.
Do you know who Ted Heath is?
Dance band leader. I beg your pardon, he's the leader of the opposition. What do I think of him? Well, he seems a decent sort of chap.
Do you know who Edward Heath is?
Something to do with government.
He is the Conservative Party head leader.
Who is he?
It's for Labour government.
What do you think of him?
Oh, not much.
Well, all those rude things said about that very nice gentleman, Mr. Ted Heath. Here's a lady who was asked to come on Calendar, this special anniversary, to redress the balance, because she has a special message for you all watching about Mr. Ted Heath, haven't you, madam?
Yes, well, look, it's very important to remember that Ted Heath started at the bottom and worked his way down. Actually, yes, I've had some bad news today from number 10. Apparently, Dennis was ironing the curtains when he fell out of the window.
Our children of the 20s, all 20 today, teenagers no longer. Who was Ted Heath? Leader of the Conservative Party. That's what you say. Who do you think he was?
Leader of the Labour Party.
Leader of the Labour Party. Ted Heath. Labour Party leader in 1968. Who was Ted Heath in 1968?
Conservative?
He was a Conservative. Anything special?
No idea.
Whatever happened to him?
Couldn't tell you.
Whatever happened to Ted Heath?
No idea.
No, whatever happened to Ted Heath? This man here, I should just tell you, was born at actually 6 o'clock on the day of Calendar. 29th. Well done. It's 6 o'clock. So your mum wasn't watching Calendar that time?
No, not
that. OK, now there's another thing for you lot. Pay attention to this, because do you remember 12 pence to the shilling, 20 shillings to the pound? Well, 1968 signalled the end of all that. Britain was to go decimal, and we were to be prepared slowly for the changeover. They brought out the 50 pence piece, and it got this reaction in our part of the world.
What do you think of this then, the new 10 bob bit?
Well, I think it's absolutely rubbish.
Why?
I think the people that designed it want to go to school and learn how to do the job.
I don't like them. It's too easy to get mixed up with half crowns and 2 shilling pieces.
I think it's terrible. I think it's terribly confusing.
I'm not very keen on them myself.
Complicate all the old ladies with money. It's hopeless for them if they get more than 1 2 shilling piece in the purse.
I think it should have been an entirely different colour altogether.
I like the old 10 bob bit.
OK, let's just do another consumer test with our 20-year-olds. Everyone here is 20 today. What's that thing there?
10 bob note.
What do you think it is? Quickly.
Bob, no.
Bob note.
Have you ever seen one before? Never seen one?
Never seen one, that's it. Monopoly or something like that.
Monopoly? Well, it's got some Marcus Fox and Joe Ashton, but it is a Monopoly, I suppose. Not. This is a 10 shilling note. Well, yes, it is 50p. You think it's 50p? Yeah. OK. So you've grown up, of course, children of the 60s and the 70s, grown up totally with decimals. What do you particularly remember about the last 20 years? What one thing stands out in your memory about the last 20 years?
The last 20 years?
Yes. One thing you remember. Oh, great. What do you think?
Getting my first job.
Getting your first job. What in world events? I think that stands out in the next 20 years. Last 20 years.
Going on my first holiday.
First holiday. You remember just personal things? Anyone remember sort of something that happened in the outside world in the last 20 years?
Zebra going down.
Zebra, well, last year. But,
yeah, that's the only thing that I can remember.
Just recently. Just quickly, you.
Not really anything. I don't tend to take any notice.
You don't remember taking any notice? OK, we've given you all calendar T-shirts. Happy birthday to you all. Well done. Our 20-year-olds today. Happy birthday. Remember much, but perhaps hope they remember coming in today for our 20th birthday. Now, of course, Calendar in those early days always had a song from Bert Gaunt, and he's here now to look into the future. Mr. Gaunt.
20 years' time. In 20 years' time, I'll be singing me tune. Just think the pubs will be open the whole afternoon, and we might get a summer that's not a monsoon. In 20 years from now, you know, in 20 years from now. There'll be old Austin Mitchell still on his feet, MP for Grimsby and still looking sweet, and he might be removing to 10 Downing Street in 20 years from now, you know. Long time to wait, Austin. And whether the weather is rainy or bright, Bob Rust will be doing his forecast each night. But that's not to say he'll be getting it right in 20 years from now.
Tell me why is there no sun up in the sky? Stormy weather.
The load of tradition we all shall inherit, that old Richard Whiteley will be here on merit, still bearing the scars of that saber-toothed ferret. In 20 years from now, you know, in 20 years from now. And in 20 years' time, if I still can contrive, I'll be writing me ditties and doing them live. Just think, in 20 years' time, I'll be turned 55. With wrinkles in me brow. And so here on Calendar, I'd like to state, this evening we've reason to all celebrate. So let's do it again in 2008, and we'll take another bow, you know, in 20 years from now.